Hey guys and girls, how's it going? Hope you guys are having a great week. So I'm back today. Today is my birthday, guys, and today is going to be my first Q&A video. So a few days ago, I basically posted the Far Cry 5 game giveaway competition, but in that video as well, I also asked you guys to ask me a question that you'd like me to answer. Now, I've been so surprised by how many people have just responded and asked me questions. I've had some really great questions, nearly 30 questions I've had. I can't obviously answer all 30 in this first video today because the video would just be so long. So what I've decided to do is I will answer all of your questions, but what I'm going to do, guys, which I thought you might enjoy and might be fun for me to do, is every month I'm going to do a Q&A video where I will choose 5 questions and I will answer those 5 questions in that video. So that's what this video is going to be. It's going to be the first of a monthly series of videos, and I have chosen 5 questions that I really liked, which Dante is going to read to me.
Bonhart asks, Kate, what is your best game-related birthday memory? Oh, that's a nice one.
Now, that's a really good question. Thank you very much, and very relevant, obviously, to today. I have so many memories when it comes to gaming, but related to birthdays, I never really got consoles on my birthday, so most of my big memories with sort of getting consoles and opening them for the first time as a child, they're all Christmas memories. But I do have 2 distinct gaming memories that I'll always remember and are very fun to me. The first one is actually related to the GameCube, and it was a party, a house sleepover party that I basically had at my parents' house. My parents were just absolutely awesome, and we set up the GameCube downstairs with my friends, and we all ended up playing my favorite game at that time, which was Gekito Ninja Taisen 4. It was actually a game that we imported from Japan. And it's a fantastic game. It's a Naruto fighting game, and it's just such an amazing game. And we ended up really getting into that game. One thing you'll probably know or learn about me is I'm a very, very competitive person, and I don't like to lose. I can lose, and I'm an okay loser, but I will keep fighting until I can win again and sort of take back that trophy. And we ended up having a tournament playing Gekito Ninja Taisen 4, and some of my friends were just fantastic players, and we all had our own particular characters that we absolutely loved. I myself was always a Chunin exam Sasuke, and I always had this move where I would sort of juggle people in the air, and as they'd fall, I'd sort of charge a Chidori and sort of land it on that. And I just remember we played it all the way through the night. That's the only game that we played, but we didn't put it down, and it ended up being like a freaking 6-hour marathon just playing this game and in competitions, and some of the fights were just epic and everybody reacting, and it was really, really great. Obviously we had a few drinks with it at that time, and it was just really, really awesome. So that's the first kind of friend related game birthday memory. The second memory I have is actually when I was in Japan, and it was when Mass Effect 3 came out. Now, Mass Effect 3 came out in 2012, and it actually came out on the 6th of March, which is the day before my birthday. But probably that game is probably the most excited I have ever been for a game to come out. Now, if you know anything about me, Mass Effect is my favorite series, Mass Effect 2 being my favorite of the trilogy. But I couldn't wait for Mass Effect 3, and I ordered the collector's edition as well, and it basically got delivered to Japan. I was at work, and when I obviously returned home on the 6th, there was a card through my letterbox, but the delivery in Japan is amazing. They're like no other, and basically you can call them up over the phone and they'll deliver it right up until like 8 p.m. I think it was. So I got the guy to come back, and he basically delivered it in the evening of the 6th of March. And I remember putting the game in, installing all the DLC and the day one DLC that came with it, and I basically marathoned it. I basically played it all the way through the night until the early hours of my birthday, and just absolutely loved it. It's such a good game, and so it has a very special memory for me. And then I remember sort of Skyping with my family early hours of the morning on the 7th, obviously because they wanted to wish me a happy birthday, and I must have looked just awful. And I was just so hyper and high on coffee and everything else. But I'll just remember that, you know, just playing it. And I think I had the day off on my birthday on the 7th. And all I did was play Mass Effect 3 by myself in my apartment in Japan. And yeah, it was a very good way to spend my birthday. And I really, really enjoyed it. So those are my 2 birthday memories for you.
Gerard Maurice Rassaltier asks, Kate, who was your first celeb crush?
Okay, thank you. That's an interesting question. So who was my first celeb crush? Well, I've had a few in my time, but I suppose my first celeb crush was when I was kind of like early teens maybe, and I was in high school, and I actually had 3 sort of celeb crushes, and it was in the 90s. And at that time there were 3 shows that I basically watched a lot of, and I had crushes on all 3 of these main characters, these actors. The first was, if any of you are from the UK, you probably know what this is, or even the world, it was the Gladiators Saturday night entertainment show, which has just an awesome fucking theme song. It's so amazing. But there was one particular gladiator in it, Hunter, who I had the biggest crush on, and absolutely loved him. I think all the guys were crushing on like was it Jess? I can't remember her name, but all the guys were crushing on like the females, and I just, Hunter was great. He was really, you know, blonde hair, beautiful, gorgeous. So he was probably my first one for that. As well, at this time, I loved X-Files, and I used to go watch it with one of my best friends at that time in high school, Catherine, and we would marathon X-Files, and we both had the hugest crush on Fox Mulder. So he was probably my second one, David Duchovny. My third crush, many of you don't know, but I'm a geek, and I'm a huge Trekkie. I love Star Trek, and I've watched pretty much most of them. My favorites probably are Star Trek Next Generation and Voyager, and I'm really, really enjoying Discovery at the moment on Netflix. It's very good, and I'm really enjoying it. But at that time in the 90s, of course, that was when Star Trek Next Generation was airing. And the other crush I had was probably Will Riker, number 1. I loved him. You know, he was great. You know, you can't resist Will Riker, especially with the way he sort of reverse sits down on chairs and things. But yeah, so I probably had a bit of a crush on him. Now, of course, today I'm older, but it still doesn't stop you from having celebrity crushes. And I'd probably say the 2 people I have huge crushes on are Nathan Fillion, who I absolutely love. I love him. And ever since I've seen him in Firefly and Castle and everything else, he's got the nicest voice, the sexiest voice, great sense of humor, and I love him. And also Hugh Jackman, because he's just such a lovely guy. He's so nice, and I don't think I've seen him in anything bad. Like, he was amazing as Wolverine. He is Wolverine, completely dedicates himself to whatever he does, has a great singing voice, and I just love, yeah. So Hugh Jackman probably is, I've got a wee crush on him at the moment as well. But there you go. That answers your question, hopefully. Those are my first celebrity crushes.
Ash's channel asks, your gaming history. Can you name each console you grew up with playing and your favourite game on each? Ooh, that's a good one.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's going to be quite a long answer because I have quite an extensive sort of gaming history. I started with a Commodore 64. That was my very first console that my dad bought, mostly for him, and he would play it with me. So I have really good memories of playing that with my dad, the Commodore 64. But it was hilarious back then because it took like 15 minutes for a game to load, and it was in like a friggin' tape. You had to put it in a tape machine and stuff. But my favorite game that I enjoyed playing with my dad for the Commodore 64 was Return of the Jedi. Which was really good. And there was like one level on Endor where you're on like the bikes, and it was really difficult. Like you had to dodge between like trees, and the Ewoks were like trying to help you, and you had to all sorts of things. So yeah, I would say Return of the Jedi was my favorite game on the Commodore 64. After the Commodore 64, I then had a Sega Mega Drive, which I got bought for Christmas, and I had so many games on that. But probably my two favorite games are Disney's The Lion King, which I love. The Lion King is my favorite Disney movie. I love it. I love the music in it, and the game was just a lot of fun. The level designs were fun, really great. The musical score was right from the movie, so it just had all that feel good factor. Really good game. But probably my favorite game on the Sega Mega Drive was actually World of Illusion, which was Mickey Mouse, and that game was so good, and I played it a lot with my cousin. So I have good memories of playing that because you could play it two players. So one of you could be like Mickey and the other one could be Donald. And it was really, really fun. And the level designs, the characters, the music was great. It was just really good. It was a really good game. So that probably was my favorite game on that. After that, handheld console I got was the Game Boy. My favorite game on that was Super Mario Land 2, 6 coins, which was such a good game. And actually it was not the first, it was probably one of the first games that I 100%ed, completed. And it was just great. The level design was good, the different powers, the musical score, the music in that game was great, like really good. I still remember a lot of the songs even to this day. So after the Game Boy, I then got a PlayStation 2. I actually got a PlayStation 2. My parents bought it for me when I was off sick from school. I was very ill at this time. I had an operation or something, and I had to be off school, and so I was by myself, and I was feeling a little bit low, and they bought me a PlayStation 2 to make me feel better and to cheer me up. Love my parents. They're amazing people. And basically, yeah, I got and I'd wanted it for ages. It'd been out for a while, and I'd wanted one for ages, and I'd mentioned it a few times. So they got me that. Now, my favorite game on the PlayStation 2, that's a really difficult one, but I'd say probably on the PlayStation 2 probably was the Legacy of Kain series, Blood Omen 2, Soul Reaver 2, Defiance. I played the hell out of those games. I loved the story. Is so cool. I love the fact that you played as like Kain in the first game, and then is it Raziel in the second game, and Kain was like your enemy, and the story was great. The voice acting was great. It was just really good game, really good story, and really enjoyed it. So probably the Legacy of Kain series was my favorite on the PlayStation 2. After the PlayStation 2, I got an Xbox. The original Xbox, not Xbox One, the original Xbox. Probably my favorite game on that, There's one of two, either the Jade Empire, which was by BioWare. It kind of goes under the radar, Jade Empire. I don't think it gets as much credit as it should do, but it was a very good RPG, really, really cool RPG, and it was kind of the first BioWare game that I actually played. I never played Baldur's Gate. I played that, and then I played Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, then I went and played Dragon Age. So like, yeah, Jade Empire was my first BioWare game. Maybe Knights of the Old Republic, because I did play that as well. But that was a very good game, Jade Empire. But I probably have to say that it's actually not Jade Empire. My favorite series is actually Prince of Persia. I loved Prince of Persia. It was so good. So yeah, I loved being able to control time. I love being able to see what's going to happen and like plan it. And if things go wrong, I just loved it. I loved the whole time dynamic of it. It was a really fun platformer. The combat was good too. It's just such a good game. It was just such a good game, Prince of Persia. Then I got a GameCube after that. At this point, I started working in a game store, so I could get discounts and things, and sometimes we would get free game giveaways if we sold lots of games, and I was just super passionate about games, loved talking about them, and always seemed to do really well in terms of sales. I guess because I knew what I was talking about and didn't put pressure on people and let people decide what they wanted to buy. But I used to do really well. So I used to be able to get lots of discount and also get lots of games as part of these competitions. And so, yeah, I got a GameCube, got a lot of games for it. But my favorite game on that probably was Rogue Squadron, which was a really good like Star Wars, Starfighter, assault kind of game. And it was just so good. It was just so good. And it's really, you know, what I wanted to be in the original Star Wars. Well, in the remake, in the PS4 Star Wars Battlefront. Of course, it is in the Battlefront 2, although you all know I'm not buying that game and you know why. But yeah, Rogue Squadron, so good. It was such a good game. So it probably was my favourite game on the GameCube. After that, I bought a Wii. I actually bought a Wii. And then with the Wii, my favorite game on that probably was Super Mario Galaxy, which was great because it was the first kind of sort of open world sandbox kind of Mario game. And the whole premise of like going to different planets was really, really cool. It was really fun. Really loved it. So Mario Galaxy probably was my favorite game on the Wii. Then I went to Japan. And in Japan, I bought an Xbox 360 in Japan, a Japanese Xbox 360. So I had to get a lot of my games kind of like it's sort of imported. So they had like English soundtracks because my Japanese wasn't good enough at that time. But yeah, I got an Xbox 360. Now you all, there are so many series on Xbox 360 that are my favorite and are amazing. Probably my top three are the Assassin's Creed series, particularly Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. Those are my favourite. And the Batman Arkham series, especially Arkham City. Such a good game. Again, love those. But you all know what I'm going to say. My favourite game on the Xbox 360, Mass Effect 2 mostly, but the Mass Effect trilogy. But obviously, out of the trilogy, Mass Effect 2 is my favourite of those games just because I love the story, the characters, the suicide mission. It's the best one, and the most satisfying, I think, out of the three games. So Mass Effect 2 was my favourite game on the Xbox 360. I then came back to the UK and I bought a Wii U because all my friends had Wii U's and I wanted to sort of get in on that. And my favourite game on the Wii U was Splatoon because Nintendo were doing something new, you know, and I enjoyed the Mario 3D World. I did enjoy it and it was good, but I love Splatoon because they were doing something really new. The online gameplay was heaps of fun. The cooperative, competitive nature of it. I love the fact that it wasn't about kill streaks and kill stealing. It was more about playing strategically and covering the area, and the weapons are great. The designs of the characters are cute as anything, and I just loved it. So Splatoon was definitely my favorite game on the Wii U, and Splatoon 2 on the Nintendo Switch is also a very good game, and it's actually improved on the first game massively. So it is definitely worth a buy. After that, I got a PlayStation 4. And I have so many games on PlayStation 4. And some games I've traded in to get other games. So I've had more than that up there. But on the PlayStation 4, my favorite game, again, it's hard because I've played so many good games over the last few years. I'd say sort of honorable mentions probably, if we're talking about exclusives to the PlayStation 4, then of course I have to mention Horizon Zero Dawn, which just was amazing. And of course Uncharted 4, which was amazing. So those two are the best and my favorite exclusives on the PlayStation 4. But game that I've played on the PlayStation 4, easy, The Witcher 3. Easily, that's my favorite game on the PlayStation 4 so far. It's my favorite game this generation. It's going to take a lot to beat. It really is going to take a lot to beat that game. After I got PlayStation 4, I basically saved and saved and saved and saved, and I got an Xbox One. Because I wanted to be able to review Xbox One games and to be able to play them and sort of showcase that a little bit on my channel. Now, I have been disappointed with Microsoft that there hasn't been that many exclusives. I don't think there's been nearly enough exclusives. But out of the games I have played on the Xbox One so far, my favorite exclusive is easily Cuphead, which came out last year. That game, brilliant. Animation, gameplay, style, music, boss fights, the fact that you can play it cooperatively with your friend, the challenge of that game, how hard that game is. It's just a really good game. And it was great to see an indie title like that do so well and be recognized, and I just think that was really, really awesome. So Cuphead is my favorite game on the Xbox One so far. And then finally last year in May, June, I got a Nintendo Switch, and I have not regretted that decision because there have been so many good games that came out last year on the Nintendo Switch. But my two favorite games, because it's hard to pick between them, is Zelda Breath of the Wild. Brilliant game of the year, deservedly last year. It definitely was deserved of getting game of the year. Of course, it wasn't what I chose for game of the year. I chose Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice for my own experience, but Breath of the Wild is a great game. And the other game that I love is Mario Odyssey. So that is my console history, and those are the games that I would pick for it. I said it was going to be long because I've had a lot of experience playing games in my time. But there you go. That's my answer.
El Jefe asks, Kate, with so many remasters having been released over the past few years, which classic game would you most like to see remade for the current gen?
Oh, that's a really good question. There have been so many remasters and so many remakes that I've been really happy to see, like Shadow of Colossus, for example. I can't wait to play Final Fantasy VII when that comes out. But there's always been a game that I think would be so amazing to remake, because there aren't many games of this type currently in the current generation. And that is, I don't know if you ever played it, but on the Xbox 360, there was a game that I loved, which was called Tenchu Wrath of Heaven. And it's basically you play as a ninja, and it's a stealth game. It has action in it, of course, but the idea is that you infiltrate into sort of castles and bases and things and towns and villages, and you have assassination targets. So it's like Hitman, but set in like, you know, Tokugawa kind of Meiji sort of period in Japanese history, and you play as a ninja, and you can grapple onto sort of top of roofs and buildings. And I just think it'd be there's so much scope and potential, and there aren't that many exclusively stealth games, and there aren't that many games set in that time period, set with ninjas and samurai, that aren't just pure action and crazy combat and crazy boss fights. I want a game like that. I want it to be remade, and I think it'd be awesome if you did a really good story with it. It could be a huge, expansive area. You know, the problem with Tenchu is there were loading screens within loading screens within loading screens, which really stopped the pacing of it. But there's so much scope for like the different gadgets and things that you could have. You know, if you're want to infiltrate somewhere and you're going across a moat, you could have like a bamboo reed and swim underwater, and you could disguise yourself and infiltrate as like a merchant or something, or grapple onto buildings and all sorts of things, you know, poison food. It could be Hitman, but as a ninja, which would be really, really, really cool. And Tenchu was so cool. It had the most awesome opening intro theme song of any game, and was just one of my favorite games at that time, and I played the hell out of it, and I would love to see it remastered on current generation hardware. I would so love to see that. I think that would be so awesome. So that is the game that I would choose.
Taz Shock asks, Kate, what do you think about the rumours that Microsoft is trying to acquire EA and Valve, and what do you think the future of gaming will be like?
Right. So what do I think about the rumors of Microsoft buying EA and Valve? I definitely would not be sad to see EA go. I would love for someone else to buy other companies, or for those companies to be independent, or you know, be able to do what they want to do creatively. I think EA as a publisher are just horrible. I think they are heartless. I think they're only bothered about making money. They destroy franchises, they destroy companies, they destroy people's lives. You know, when they close down entire studios and can projects that they'd announced a few years ago, and you know what they've done to BioWare and the state that Andromeda came out in, and the pressure on them to bring out Anthem as a online multiplayer Destiny style game. That's not something that BioWare, I think, would ever do voluntarily. BioWare are a single player, story narrative driven developer. They always have been, and that's their niche. That's where they've always done well. There's nothing wrong with telling a single player story, and I think EA has a lot to do with it. And I think if Anthem doesn't do well, BioWare's in big trouble, and I would not be surprised if EA tried to just sort of put them into their like EA Motive Studios and things, and who knows what will happen with Dragon Age and Mass Effect Andromeda. You know, there's a lot of pressure on them. But do I want Microsoft to buy EA? No. The reason I don't want them to buy, and the reason I think they want to buy them, is Microsoft at the moment are struggling when it comes to exclusives, and their first party development team are not doing a good job, in my opinion. There aren't enough exclusive games coming out. If you compare it to the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch, those consoles already have so many exclusives that have come out that have been amazing and that are still coming out. I mean, the PlayStation 4 has so many that are coming out. I mean, you know, we've got God of War coming out in April, Spider-Man. There's just so many games coming out on the PlayStation 4, and the Switch is the same. And I think if Microsoft buy EA and buy Valve, then those companies that they have, you know, BioWare, that produce, you know, their games, they're going to make those games exclusive to the Xbox One. So the thought that BioWare games, that games like the Mass Effect series or the next Dragon Age will only be available only on the Xbox One, and that you will have to buy that console to play that game, I cannot support anything like that, because I think that would be a disaster. I don't think that would be good for gamers, and I don't think it would be good for the gaming market. Competition is healthy, but not at the expense of the gamer. You know, that's where the Rise of the Tomb Raider really pissed me off because it was a timed exclusive for 1 year on the Xbox One, but the previous game had been available across platform. So I could not believe that Square Enix made that decision, that Crystal Dynamics agreed to that and made that decision, and that Microsoft didn't give a shit about Gamer. They didn't give a shit about the community. All they were bothered about was exclusives and having that exclusive on the Xbox One in the hopes that they would sell consoles. And you know what? It didn't work. It backfired. So I don't know. I'm not supporting Microsoft at the moment too much because I don't think that they're doing enough to make buying an Xbox One worth your while, worth your time. And I don't like it. You know, I don't like the whole idea of BioWare being an exclusive, you know, Microsoft company. I don't think that's good. And I think a lot of BioWare fans that own, you know, PlayStation 4 would be really pissed off if the next Dragon Age game was only available on the Xbox One. So, nah, I'm not too keen on the idea of Microsoft buying big companies like EA and Valve. And even then, if they did buy them, would it change drastically, or would it still, you know, they just still have the same management? Who knows? I guess we'll see. And I'm surprised that they want to buy them given how the controversy with EA. If I was Microsoft, I wouldn't touch EA with a 10-foot barge pole. I would not touch them at the moment. They are a plague. They have so much bad rep against them at the moment, so much controversy with loot boxes and all sorts of things. I would not touch them if I was Microsoft. I think that would be a very, very bad business decision on their part. Just put that money into creating your own studios to make your own titles, recruit new staff. Don't spend that money buying EA. I wouldn't do that anyway. So that's my thoughts anyway on that. So there you have it, guys. Those are my answers to all your questions. Those were some really interesting questions. Thank you so much to everyone who asked a question. I will be back again next month answering more of your questions. I hope you guys found this video interesting anyway and enjoyed my stories and my answers to them anyway. If you did, please hit the like button as always to show your support. Comment in the comment section below to answer the questions yourself. I'd be really interested to see what your answers would be to some of those questions as well. Anyway, hope you guys have a great week. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye, guys.